Hi, this is Khadra Munir and welcome to Wowcast, a podcast brought to you by Women of the World Festival, Pakistan, now in its 10th year. For the last decade, we've been celebrating amazing women doing inspiring things and bringing you their stories in their most authentic and raw form, full of hope and full of heart. And now, we're bringing you even more stories. This isn't just a podcast, it's a community, and we want you to be part of it. So, what are we waiting for? Let's go. Today we have DJ Lyla in the house, a musician, a development sector professional, and a third culture soul. Spanning a life lived in 8 different countries, that's a lot of culture to experience, and that's a lot of influence that goes into her music. So why don't we get into it and see what Lyla has to say about her experiences? Hi Lyla.
Hey.
Welcome to Wowcast.
Thank you for having me.
We're so happy to have you on the show.
I'm happy to be here.
I'm gonna jump right into it because sorry. It's okay. You'll relax once we get into the flow of the questions because you know all the answers.
That is true.
Okay. So you've moved across 8 countries, and that's a lot of starting over. What does starting over every time look like, and like, how do you keep yourself steady no matter where you landed?
So basically, I was born in Karachi. When I was a week old, I moved to Yemen. So a lot of my younger years, I was moving a lot, but I think I was a baby, so I wasn't consciously doing it, but I think subconsciously, I was changing to all these different places and learning about new cultures from before I even remember. So I feel like it's always been kind of inherent to me. And then growing older, it was hard to leave places, but it wasn't hard to go to new places. So I think that was something that was already very much in me that I think I just kind of knew like how to do it. And then even with the leaving, I think as I was growing up, there was so much access to social media popping up or MSN and like texting and even sending letters to each other that I never felt really disconnected from people.
So even though you put down roots, it wasn't like you were leaving them behind every time you were moving.
Yeah. And a lot of times, most of the people around me were international school students whose parents were maybe in the same sort of industry. So we all kind of that was just our lives, I think.
So you've often mentioned that music was your anchor throughout all of this. When did you realize that this was bigger than just like listening to songs and something you wanted to sort of immerse yourself in?
Honestly, I never wanted to immerse myself. Really? No, it was never on my mind. I knew from, I think, 2004, it's the oldest memory I have of being like, I want to be in the humanitarian field, I want to be a development worker, I want to do my master's in XYZ thing. So I always kind of knew that I wanted to go into the development field. And I think just growing up in a family where that was something that was prevalent, it's something that I'd seen, something I could empathize with. I never thought about being a musician or a DJ. I used to play the clarinet, but even that I was like, oh, I don't want this to be a profession. Like it was never a thing. But I guess people saw that I was, maybe they enjoyed my music or I was passionate about it. I never saw the passion. I'm like, oh, music is just something I've always had.
Right.
Like as I was moving around, plus हमेशा iPod पे music था, CDs पे, cassette पे.
Right.
And I just kept collecting and growing and like taking up space on my parents' computer. It would be like full albums worth of all sorts of music. The DJing thing happened very, very organically. It was not the plan. I graduated from university. I moved to Glasgow. I was working at a community center with migrants and refugees. I was also working at a radio station, not doing music stuff, but instead I was taking down histories of South Asian migrants who had come to the UK in the 60s.
Right.
So I was doing like stuff that was related to my work, like, you know, spreading knowledge. And then one day my friends just signed me up for a first time DJ thing. I didn't know how to DJ. I didn't know how to use any of the equipment. It was a 30-minute set. I don't know what I did, but somebody liked my music. And this random guy, never met him, he came up to me and he's like, oh, I'm having a party next week. I want you to play. I'm like, I don't know how to play. This is the first time. He's like, I don't care, I like the music. Bas aaja.
Wow.
And then from there, it was someone from his party asked me, do you want to play our party? And then it just became this, again, just very organic, very natural progression.
And so, like, what role has music and then eventually becoming a DJ and, you know, sort of exploring music in its different forms. How has it sort of helped you grow and become a part of your identity and sort of helping you navigate change?
How does it help me grow? So at the beginning, I was just doing it for fun, kind of, and then I slowly started to realize that the more that I'm into it, the more I can see other people be into it. So the people who were dancing when I was in a good mood and I was having fun DJing and playing whatever I wanted to play, that was also reciprocating with the crowd. I felt happiness, and I could also see that other people were feeling happy. And I saw like people smiling or dancing with their friends and not even facing me, but going outside and being in a good mood, like if they went for a cigarette or something, they're like, oh, that's so fun, you know? And for me, I was like, oh, this is really like I'm doing something for someone, you know, and I'm making them feel good. I feel good about it. So does that kind of answer it?
Yeah, it does. And so your selection of the music that you play for them plays a big role in that.
Yeah.
And do you think all of your travels and all of your sort of personal journey has influenced the song selections and the music you play for other people? Like you know how every set that you play is sort of like you being in a certain mood or in a certain headspace.
Yeah.
So like, how does that factor in? How do you decide before each set who you're going to be today?
So I don't really plan my sets at all, to be honest. I will be collecting music throughout the month or the year. So I'll have a folder of like my yearly favorites that I like. Then I have a folder of what I've been listening to in the month. If I have like a really special gig coming up, then it will be very much based on how I'm feeling in that moment. Which also puts a little bit of pressure on me to be feeling kind of not good or bad, but clear in my head. You know, so some of my music may be like very joyful, but maybe it'll be joyful and nostalgic.
Yeah.
Or maybe it'll be joyful and like a little bit melancholy. Or maybe it'll just pure happy, like cheesy music. Like I'll do that a lot. But sometimes I have mixes that I'll be playing that is a little bit of everything. So maybe it'll start off kind of dark and weird and then it'll start to move into a journey, and that very much has to do with my mood, but also has to do with how the crowd is feeling.
You're reading the room.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I can't. I don't know how I do it. Like I don't know how to explain it. I think it's intuition and gut feeling mostly. But once I get into the zone, वो automatically हो जाता है, where I can be having a conversation with the crowd. So regardless of how I'm feeling, I can play the sort of music of how I'm feeling, but also play music that they might want to enjoy, and then there's like this weird conversation that's happening.
So like when we watch these kind of situations play out in movies or like the artistic journey of it's always sort of presented to us lay people, like you're in like the zone, you're in like this your own headspace, you're in this zone, it's like this trance you're in, you're just like you actually emerge later and you realize what you've done or how you've been performing or what music you can play, but you in that moment are just sort of playing.
Yeah.
Is that how it feels? Is that what that experience is like?
It is, and I think that when it's not like that, that's when you can hear. That's when I'm like getting overly self-conscious, or I'm like thinking like, oh, what do I play next? Or I really don't want to be here, or like, why did I sign up for this? So unless I'm in the zone that you said, I'm in this other zone. So I try to mitigate that other zone a lot, whether I say no to certain things, to certain opportunities, or if I'm not well rested or haven't eaten properly, like then I'll tell the promoter, I'm like, I need a sandwich, like right now, you know, and like I need water, I need a bathroom break, I don't know, I need to take a minute.
I'm hungry, I need
exactly, and I'll be honest about it. Like I'll tell people beforehand also, like there needs to be food behind the desk for me because I need to lunch, just in case.
Absolutely, because unless you're comfortable, you're not going to be. If you're not having a good time, how will other people have a good time?
Exactly, 100%.
So DJ Lyla, development sector, hustler by day. How do you strike that balance? Like, how do you navigate the two very different worlds?
So I'm actually taking a break from my development stuff at the moment. I'm working a lot for fundraising for grassroots charities that I like right now.
Right.
And the reason is because I felt a bit disillusioned by what I saw in the development sector, and I just could not sit with it. Like I just could not deal with it. I'm like, it was very hard for me to understand the impact that I was making in the development sector. So this is something very recently that happened. I think maybe a year ago, maybe, where I quit my job and I'm like, I need to take a break because I need to figure out how I want to give back to the development world and the humanitarian world and what sort of people I'm working with and what their values and missions are. So it was hard to balance the two, and I found myself wanting to DJ more to certain sorts of crowds and like not work as much. And that's not my personality. Like whatever I do, like I want to make sure I'm giving all my passion to it. So I decided to go and get my yoga teacher training because I also need things to do all the time.
And you're a yogi too now?
Yes, I'm a yogi too now. I've been teaching for a year and a half now, almost 2 years actually. So I take breaks. So now I'll do like consultancy projects here and there. Like I'll do a piece of research or I'll do fundraising for an organization that I really like. I'll apply for a job or two here and there, but I think that I need to work in development with an organization that I believe in. I can't do this like half thing. Like I know that everything has its negatives, but just for me as a person, like I just can't do it. I'm like, if I see something wrong, like I would say it.
Okay.
So I balance it by working and doing things that I believe in, whether it's DJing or development work or.
So tell me about your charity work. Like, elaborate on that. So you mentioned it.
Yeah, so I started I guess it was a social enterprise in Pakistan because NGOs are impossible to register here sometimes. So it was called Sunny Side Up, and I was living in Glasgow at the time. And someone gave me an opportunity at this really cool club, La Cheetah, for a monthly residency. And I was already making money on the side. Like I'm also someone who doesn't need so much money and like doing things in life. So I'm like, I'm gonna turn this into a charity club night. It was £3 on the door. We had local artists, local DJs coming in, and 100% of the proceeds would go towards this NGO that I started by the same name, Sunny Side Up, and it was for solar panels and solar electrification in rural areas of Pakistan.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so we put up a bunch of projects in Hunza and then in Panuakin and Sindh. So that's what I was doing for ages. Then COVID happened, I couldn't fundraise anymore because everything was events related. So I took a break from that for a while. And now recently I started my Sunny Side parties again. So I just had one in Karachi and the next one's in Glasgow in July. And now I've decided that because I'm moving around so much that I want to pick charities and NGOs that are super, super close to my heart and give the funds to them. And what that does is that it also creates awareness for these organizations that work so hard. Like we have so many grassroots organizations in Pakistan, and people are breaking their back without any funding, like doing things. I don't know where that passion comes from, but when I see it, I'm like, I want to help you, like no one else, you know. So the charity we gave to for the last gig was called Imkan Welfare Foundation.
And what do they do?
So they basically work with undocumented people in Machar Colony.
Okay.
And I think there's like reported over 1 million people who have been living there for generations with no identity, no documentation, no rights, nothing.
Right.
And so they don't exist technically, right? But there's 1 million of them. We drive to the beach, we pass them every day. The shrimp we eat probably comes from them. So the people who came to the party didn't know about the NGO. I think it's a social welfare organization. Sorry if I'm confusing that. But at the end of the day, 110 people knew what it was, and they were curious about it. They were asking me about it, like, you know, what does this organization do? How do these people live? And I'm like, just through having this like small party where we raised so much money for.
I think it's a great way of using your platform to sort of but shed light onto like worthy causes.
Exactly. And I feel like I have some sort of moral obligation like in this world to kind of do that. Our next party we're giving to an organization in Glasgow. So wherever I throw these parties, I'm gonna stay local and I'm gonna stay to wherever the parties are happening so that whoever's attending them, they're automatically giving back to their community.
Okay.
So I think I'm gonna follow that platform for a while and see how it goes, and then decide if I want to grow it or change it.
That sounds super inspiring.
So
So I was thinking, like, you know, when you sort of become well known as a DJ, you get like a lot of young people coming up and you were young too. A lot of aspiring DJs coming up and be like, we'd love to learn from you, or we'd love to know what the process is. How do we become a DJ? I'm sure you have your own process, but if you were supposed to talk to someone about, this is how I would do it, this is how you can do it, what is the creative process? How would you sort of take one through that?
So a lot of people have actually asked me this question. It does make me feel old because sometimes it's people who are like 20, which seems young, but I'm like, wow, that's 11 years younger than me. I'm like, whoa. They asked me this, and I keep telling people, because people ask me about the technical part, like, we want you to teach us how to use this machine. Okay, anyone can learn how to use a machine. Even if you wanted to just basically DJ, you can just press pause and play. You don't have to do the filters and all this stuff. For me, I tell people it's about why you want to do this and how much do you understand what music does to you, right? And I think without that, that's the biggest distinguisher between who's like a really good DJ or like not such a great DJ, But I don't even believe in good or bad, but just people who can like draw a crowd and like, listen to them. Exactly. It is manipulation, It feels very manipulative.
Basically like controlling people's minds in that moment of time.
Yeah. But I keep telling people, I'm like, you can't, I don't know, maybe this is just my opinion. I've spoken to a lot of people about this, and I'm like, you can't do things because you want attention or you want to be famous or you want to look cool, If you do things with your heart, like I truly believe that things will work out and your life will be a lot easier. So I tell them, I'm like, do it for the right reasons, do it because you love music. Maybe you need to work 2 or 3 jobs on the side. I do that. It's not like I make all my money off DJing. But just do it for the right reasons.
Which is so important because there's so much exceptionalism now where everyone just wants to get attention for doing something.
100%. And I think that's a really scary thing. And I don't know, again, this is just my opinion, but I've read so many different philosophies and read so much about different religion and like spiritual thoughts and throughout history, and everyone says don't do things, like don't be vain,
Yeah, exactly.
And like stay humble and stay true to yourself. I'm like, people have been saying this to us since the Zoroastrians, there must be some truth.
We're clearly not listening.
Yeah. So I do think it's, or even for fame and money, I'm like, how, like these things, when you get stuck in that circle, it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
It's like a snowball effect, And I think that's, I think that's mainly the problem with the whole world at the moment.
Exactly. And okay, speaking of the world, you've lived in several different countries. What would you say about like that journey of belonging to each place? Yes, we don't need to talk about like when you were a baby because you were too young to sort of process that or understand. But as you grew older, when you started to figure out that okay, we're going to be moving again. How am I going to go through that process of trying to belong again?
I think I kind of gave up on belonging. I think I take a lot of comfort in concepts like humanism and just being one race. Like I don't really believe in nationalism either. I don't believe that we can create lines that make borders. Like who's making those borders, right? It's all just like men in power. So I don't like to subscribe to those ideas. So for me, belonging died a long time ago. I'm like, man, son, I'm living on this planet. I get to decide how I want to live. And when I had that understanding and when that kind of settled in, it took like a few years of, meditating and journaling about it and letting myself understand and believe it. But when that happened, I realized that I became so much more open-minded to everyone and everything. I'm like, I don't know what people have been through. I don't know, what their history is. But I think that I'm more able to accept and understand them. And that's belonging for me. It's just wherever I am, I can just relate to people or even trees sometimes. I'm like, we're just here on this planet. The one thing we know is that we're gonna, whatever death means, we're gonna die.
Yeah.
You know, and that's everyone's reality. And I'm like, that's my belonging is that we're all just gonna come and we're gonna go, and we have to decide how we wanna be.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's food for thought.
Yeah.
So you're like a woman and a woman of color in two very male-dominated industries. You know, development, charity, and music.
Yeah.
How do you sort of assert yourself or like command attention or just make people pay attention?
Oh my gosh, I say it like it is. And I get into trouble for it sometimes. Sometimes if things bother me a lot and I see injustice, like my little fire will come out, and I think that's okay. I think that I know where my fire needs to be directed. At one workplace, people used to call me a fierce feminist behind my back.
Like it's a bad thing.
Yeah, so they mentioned as like, oh, you're the fierce feminist, and then I told my colleague about it, and she's like, well, you should just take that as a compliment. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I'm gonna take it as a compliment.
Yeah,
but I am particularly assertive, and I think this is something I got from my mom.
Okay.
I cannot take other people's shit. Excuse my French. I just cannot. Like, I don't care if it's coming from a woman or a man or a person of color or like I guess white is also a color, so white people must also be people of color. I don't know. Is it? I don't know. But I don't care who it is. If I see any sort of unfairness or injustice, my vote will be. And sometimes I have to decide how to say it, so I'll assess the situation. I'm like, okay, this person is worth a nice long explanation around say you know. Some people I'm like, this is not worth it. I just want to tell you how I feel and be like, this is how it's gonna go or how it's not gonna go, and just
that makes sense.
Follow through. Yeah.
So I was gonna ask you about like being split between different identities and passions. But I don't know if that counts because you seem so well grounded. I mean, have you ever had confusion about obviously becoming someone who's very able to settle into a new space? Like you said, I just sort of let go of boundaries and borders and just not think about that. It helps me settle.
Yeah.
But that must also have been like a personal journey. It doesn't happen automatically. How is that? How did you sort of navigate that?
I owe a lot to my parents, for sure. And I also owe a lot to, I love to read, and I love reading historic fiction. I love reading stories about migration. And I think, I actually don't watch the news. Like, if I want to learn about a topic, I will read a historic fiction novel about it and then go into the history. And I find that humans all over the world throughout history go through such similar experiences. And I'm able to relate to people's stories and experiences. So for me, I don't really think about getting up and moving and changing things. I'm like, I think I've just trained myself to just be like, actually, I'm doing this now. I've decided I'm doing this. I decide how my day is gonna go. I decide what mood and emotions I'm going to bring into my system. And I stay relaxed. Like, I don't like to. Like, even today, I kind of felt over the questions, but I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go for it. And whatever comes out will come out. Because when you start thinking about things so much, kya hoega, how will I get an apartment, how will I make new friends, that's not a headspace I want to be in. Yeah. I don't think it's worth it. I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen, So I just try to stay really chilled out. Sometimes I need to go meditate. Sometimes I journal a lot also, so sometimes I journal. Well, my journal since 2004, I think. So I could go back and tell you how I was feeling at certain periods.
And you journal every day?
Almost. Not every day. I think just maybe sometimes once a week. It depends on what's happening in my life. Sometimes every day. So it depends.
So you talked about getting into DJing very organically.
Yeah.
Was there a lot of sort of, was it questions like your friends or your family I mean, your parents sound very supportive.
Yeah.
Was there like, does this seem like an industry you want to get into? Were there any naysayers? Were there any like?
People were confused. They didn't get it. So I went to like a really bougie university. I went to the University of St. Andrews. I studied IR management, like top in the UK for those things. And then when I graduated, I moved to Glasgow. And I got a job. My first job ever was handing out flyers outside this club called the Berkeley Suite, where I eventually became like the public relations manager or whatever, while working these other
You did
jobs.
such a good job handing out flyers.
Yeah, I did. I was great at handing out flyers.
Like, you're hired.
Yeah, I guess so. But I made £12 a week. I was like, I don't know what I was doing, but my mom was like not happy about it, obviously. She's like, you studied from the best university, you know what you wanted to do your whole life, and now, so she was definitely confused, and I think that that's valid, and I'm grateful that she was confused, because I'm like, oh, she cares.
Yeah.
So I'm like, she gets it, but I'm just gonna see how it goes. I don't think she like talked to me properly for a while. Like she would say hi, hello, like how's it going? But she was kind of like she didn't understand, because it was so different from maybe how she grew up or the expectations that she maybe had with me.
Fair.
But at the same time, I was still doing other stuff. Like I was still working on these projects at community centers. I still wanted to do my master's. And in my head, at that time, I told myself, I don't need to do just one thing in my life. I think that I think all the moving around just made me so curious about the world and what different people do. And, like I was inspired. And I'm like, I don't have to just do 8 G's, Puri Zindagi, Jaage Mar Jaan. Because I was a lawyer, I was this, I was that. I'm like, no, I'm going to do everything. So there was a lot of hesitancy from my parents at the beginning. They were worried, but I think I just told them, I was like, you just gotta trust me, like trust the process. Like I know who I am, like I feel okay, and I'm gonna do it all. And in high school, I even told my mom, I'm like, I don't want to go to uni, I want to become a yoga teacher.
And so it must have been very validating when you actually
I
did
did.
yoga.
Yeah,
See, that's one thing I did.
Yeah, exactly. And even that, she told me, she's like, we'll pay for university. Thankfully, the UN paid for a lot of our uni anyways. She said, जब अपने पैसे बनाऊंगी फिर जाके yoga teacher बन जाओ. So I did that. It took me a few years, but I did it. I was like, okay.
That makes sense.
But now I'm doing everything, and my parents can see that I'm happy, and I think you said grounded. A lot of people say I'm grounded. I've been trying to figure out what that means. But I'm okay. Like I don't need so much in my life.
I feel like that is what grounded is. Being so self-aware that you're like, I'm happy doing this. I want to do that. I feel like that lack of FOMO. That lack of FOMO, like, I need to be doing this, I need that, I need that.
FOMO मुझे नहीं होता.
So I feel like that sounds like you're pretty grounded.
Okay. Take it.
So what's exciting you right now? And I think we touched upon it earlier. You're embarking on a world tour. You want to tell us about it a bit?
I'm playing a few festivals this summer in Canada and Europe, which I'm excited about. I won't take any names because I don't want to jinx anything, but if you want, you can see my Instagram and maybe I'll post. Sometimes I don't. But yeah, I'm doing a few festivals. I'm finishing an EP. I'm working on a record label with one of my friends.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm trying to also, I do online book clubs sometimes where I just find people from around the world and we'll like pick a historic fiction novel usually where we'll sit down and discuss. I want to have 1 or 2 more of those, maybe meet some of the people in person. What else?
Tell me about the EP.
The EP, I wish I could tell you, but I wish I could tell myself about it. I've been trying to create something for 8 years, but then I just ditched it. I'm like, I don't want to produce. But now I went through a bit of a weird experience, like emotionally weird experience for a few years in Karachi, and that brought up a lot of, I felt trapped almost, and then I realized when I started producing, a lot of those emotions were coming out in my music.
Yeah.
And I've been to therapy for it. I've done unconventional therapy. I've traveled. I started making friendship bracelets. I did everything trying to get it out. But when I started producing, I realized that was where, I don't know, some creative thing was happening. Jहाँ पर वो emotions उसमें निकल रही थी.
Were you projecting onto your music?
I think so. And I think that was one way that I hadn't dealt with that trauma.
Yeah.
So it's not that easy to make it, but I'm determined. I'm like, somehow I need to take those emotions and figure out a way to translate them into music, which is really hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard. It's like almost, I speak very basic French, okay? So it's basically like telling me to write you a love letter in like French. Which I can maybe say, hi, can I have a coffee, please? But I can't be like, oh, my heart like yearns for you, you know? So that's what it kind of feels like. It's very frustrating. But I'm getting there. And hopefully it'll be listenable.
We're really looking forward to it. And what about like the record label? You want to launch your own record?
Yeah, so
you want to platform other artists?
Yeah. And I want it to be international. So one of my friends, Adam, he also travels a lot. He's half Australian and like a quarter Pakistani, I think, but he also has friends all over the world. We have a very we're on similar wavelengths in life. And everywhere we go, we've just been like collecting sounds. So we want to set up different studios, maybe start in Pakistan and get artists from like Ghana or like folk musicians or even Italy, wherever, to come and collaborate with more of our not so well known musicians. Because I feel like we have platforms in Pakistan like Folk Studio or I can't name drop either. I don't know. I'm not good at name dropping so much, but I feel like there's so many artists in this sort of underground where they're just making music in their communities or at their friends' houses, and they're so good. And I'm like, no one's gonna give these guys a platform because A, they're so anti-capitalist, like we don't want to be involved.
Yeah.
And I just want to give those people an opportunity and a platform to even collaborate internationally. It's so hard to collaborate internationally here
because there's no visibility for
Exactly.
I mean, I know there is a palette for this kind of music and these kind of collaborations, but if they're not visible, nobody knows they exist.
Exactly. And that's it bothers me. That's something that's been keeping me up at night these days. So I'm also the sort of person who, if I see an issue, I won't sit and like complain about it, and I don't like to think about it too much. I just need to action. I need to do something. Like even if it doesn't work, it's fine. But kuch karna hai mujhe.
Very proactive though.
Yeah. Otherwise, I can't sleep. I just sit and meditate. I'm like, please just let me sleep. I'm doing my breathing exercises.
I promise I will fix this in the morning.
Exactly, 100%.
Let me sleep right now.
It's a lot. It eats me up sometimes. So, but yeah, we're planning on that. I'm meeting him this summer. He's also traveling a lot, so we're gonna find a way to meet and sit down and make it happen.
Okay, so we're doing a world tour. We're doing charity events. We're going to be dropping an EP. We're inshallah going to be launching a record label. You're pretty committed for the next.
Yeah, I might ask you to like write that down.
I'm just gonna WhatsApp all of that so you don't forget everything you're doing.
It's on my to-do list to make a to-do list for this, so that I can stay in line with my goals. One other thing I really want to do is I feel like I've been talking to a lot of women in Pakistan about their own trauma, maybe abusive relationships they've been in, or like womb issues that they've had. And I realized that people will only talk about this stuff like one-on-one in very secure settings, and there's not really any groups that you can join. It's very hard to, like, it took me a year and a half to find the therapist I'm working with right now, and she works exactly what I went through.
Right.
And then when I hear about similar women having situations, like now I have a list of therapists who work in specific
so
fields.
there's no like relevant database or something.
Exactly.
Like sources where you can find out what kind of therapist.
100%. So that sort of stuff, and even in our yoga classes, I feel like people are now starting to create safe spaces, but I just need to figure out how to create a community for women. Maybe it's an anonymous community where they can go when they go through stuff here, you know? Like I went through some issues and I spoke to a lawyer about it. The lawyer is like, oh, I'll be honest with you, but you probably cannot do anything about this, you know? And I'm just like, what do you mean? She's like, I know. And you know, we can go to it, but the system will not be on our side. And she's like, but don't worry, a lot of other women have gone through this as well. Just no one knows that they're all going through it, and it's a very collective thing. But in my society, it's become so
isolates
taboo.
you.
Yeah. And that is the most dangerous feeling ever. So I'm working on some sort of proposal or something where we can create a space or a community where we can actually talk about these issues, or just at least know that okay, this person went through the exact same thing that I did. Maybe we'll never know who they are, but they'll just know acha ye hota hai.
And sometimes telling a stranger is easier than telling someone you're close to.
Exactly.
We're sort of wired to internalize these things and feel shame.
Yeah.
Whatever the trauma is, you know, we look at it as our own failure.
Yeah.
Or as a weakness.
Mm-hmm.
And I think knowing that there are others who've gone through the same thing really sort of is empowering.
Exactly.
Because you have a community.
100%. And I remember when I went through it, I was just like, I was like not okay for a couple of years, and then I was like, this is not going to count for nothing. Like a lot of people just I think we're taught so much that acha ho gaya, like move on. And I'm just like, how can this? It was such a bad thing, and like I felt so bad, and I'm like, how can I waste this entire learning experience and this entire thing that happened to me and not try to help other people who are going through it, you know? I'm like, this will be a waste of my experience. I cannot waste it.
Yeah.
I need to do something. So I've been working on that like a lot and trying to figure out how to do it with different women who maybe have written books about it, or different yoga teachers, or different therapists, and even clinics. I'm trying to build a database, and then hopefully some sort of idea will come and we can talk about it.
So Lyla, there's so many young people who have so many ideas and they want to do things, but I feel like we sort of get stuck in the mechanics of things.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who to go to, I don't know how to do this, but with everything that you're talking about, you've sort of just been like, you know what, I'm just going to start out figure out what to do as I go on.
Yeah.
How, if you had to give someone that advice, how would you sort of tell them to move forward with something?
So I definitely think that one thing my academic background taught me is that prioritizing and organizing are the most important things. You have to know, no matter what it is you want to do, no matter how many things you want to do, you have to figure out how you're going to do them and what's more important than the other. For me, priority is always sleep, gym, eating healthy. Uske baad sab cheezein aati hain, because without that, you can't do any of the rest of it. And then when it comes to organizing, like I have so many to-do lists, but everything is properly marked in. My calendar is filled with all my dates. I have my journals, which has my ideas, but then I also have like my little to-do list for things I have to do in the day, things I have to do in the week, things I have to do in the month. But that's how my brain works. But I need that to function. So I would just tell them to write it down, don't let it go through your head, like figure out what works for you. Maybe you have to make a mind map, I don't know. Maybe you have to voice record your stuff, maybe you have to tell someone else.
But set reminders.
Yeah, exactly. Set reminders, but you have to do whatever works for you, and you have to organize your own brain and prioritize yourself and your things in order to do anything really.
So, one more thing. You're also very candid about the different experiences you've gone through, and while not being very descriptive or more detailed about having gone through trauma, you're very comfortable with saying you've been through trauma and you're seeking therapy.
Yeah.
There's so much shame associated with also like seeking therapy. How do you very comfortably have these conversations?
I just told myself if I'm not going to talk about it, then who is? And I think I said before also that if I get passionate about something, that
obsessive.
Yeah, and it's not even like obsessive in the point where like it consumes me, but it does. And I'm like I keep asking myself, I'm like, why am I on this planet? Like, what is my people are always searching for meaning. I'm like, I think my meaning is to be there for other people. So whether it's through my music or the development work or the book club or the charity work, the yoga, whatever it may be, I'm like, and then when it comes to my experiences, I'm like, how can I take all these experiences and keep them to myself? myself when I know that they could help someone.
Yeah.
And the only way to do that is to be completely authentic and open and candid about it, you know? And I think I have that trait in me where I'm able to do that, but I know a lot of people aren't able to do that. So even just to hear someone else say it is already, like, maybe it'll bring someone hope, I don't know. But I'm not gonna keep things in and be like, this is just my experience. But I know in my heart that it's always like a more collective experience. So I don't know, I just use myself as a little. I'm like, here, here, take my trauma and feel okay with it.
You're not alone.
No, I don't mind talking about it. I'm a very open book. I don't really have many secrets or I don't know. I don't see the need for it, to be honest. I'm okay with people reading my journals also. I'm like, hard look at
No secrets.
Yeah, no secrets.
That's amazing, Lyla. Thank you so much for being on Podcast and sharing your life experiences with us, your music with us, your journey with us. And we're going to send you a WhatsApp of all the things you're doing, so you remember you have to keep doing that. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for joining us at Wowcast, and we're going to be back with another very amazing woman who's doing very inspiring things. Thank you.